Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact Video Series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and I'm the director of the museum, and this week we're going to talk about one of the longest running businesses here in Genesee County that still exists today and is a major player in the local economy and is a global manufacturer at this point. So this week we're going to talk about Chapin Manufacturing, or Chapin Manufacturing Inc., or Chapin International as it's known today. The company was started by Ralph Chapin in Oakfield, actually, before it eventually moved to Batavia in need of a larger manufacturing space for its products. It started out in oil cans and galvanized metals, but eventually became well known almost exclusively for their spraying equipment, which in today's world is actually very much in need. So we're going to go through some of the history of the company and show you some of the older products they have, some things that we have in our collection here, but also images of new things that they produce now, so to give you sort of a transition through their history. Now, the information given to us and many of the images that you'll see in this presentation were given to the museum by Chapin themselves, so we thank them for sharing the information and pictures with us. So now we're going to dive into the history of R.E. Chapin Manufacturing. At the age of 21, Ralph Chapin went into business with his brother-in-law, Frank Harris, and opened a hardware store in Oakfield called Harris & Chapin Hardware. The company served the hardware supply needs of the community and employed approximately 15 to 20 employees. By the mid-1880s, kerosene was becoming the preferred fuel for lighting homes, and it became apparent that people had to transport the kerosene home, and Ralph noticed a need in that often the containers people brought to fill their kerosene leaked and needed repair. So his solution to this problem was to design and construct a virtually leak-proof container, which after discussing with Harris, they began manufacturing 1-gallon kerosene containers in the back of the store, which became a very profitable offshoot of the business. By March of 1885, the company had grown substantially and were able to expand their outreach beyond Oakfield. They were located on Oakfield's Main Street in a 2-story white building, where the hardware store was in front and the manufacturing operation was in the back, and they made use of the building sidewall to proudly display the company's name and advertise. As time went on, they added a few more items to their product line and actually released their first catalog in 1887 entitled Catalog of Galvanized Ironware, Oil and Gasoline Cans for Domestic and Commercial Use. The company was then forced to change locations, first in 1895 and again in 1897, after a couple different fires. The first time to an abandoned church in Oakfield, and then to a large barn on 29 Liberty Street here in Batavia. After the second fire, Chapin and Harris dissolved their business partnership, and Chapin acquired the manufacturing arm of the company. And in that same year, Ralph he named his company the R.E. Chapin Manufacturing Works Incorporated, hired new employees, and began to manufacture galvanized ironware, red band iron, oil and gasoline cans, and other petroleum-related devices. The company continued to grow, and in 1900 they actually acquired the Model Specialty Manufacturing Company, which expanded the product line to include equipment and tooling. In 1902, they introduced the 5-gallon Peerless oil can and the dual side rest can, and Chapin was also awarded 2 patents, one for an easy cleaning spray nozzle, the other for a spraying device, which would become the backbone of the company. And he also joined the Batavia Board of Trade. By 1907, Chapin had grown to about 60 to 100 employees, with hand sprayers becoming the main line introduced in 1903, with a product line up to about 45 items. And they began selling their sprayers nationwide now, with D.B. Smith Company of Utica and E.J. Seaberg of Rochester becoming main customers. In 1915, they introduced the construction of the Genesee tank, a large capacity of up to 1,000 gallons underground tank for home storage of gasoline and kerosene. And at the same time, he began manufacturing the 55-gallon drum. This new product was introduced as the chemical industry in and around Niagara Falls was expanding, so the need was there. By 1928, the greatest percentage of business was actually in the sprayer line as well as the 55-gallon drums. That same year, the company introduced its own Chapin labeled line of compressed air sprayers, and by 1933, they issued their last catalog of sheet metal specialties. During the Depression, Chapin's company did take a hit and did have to apply for bankruptcy and certain protections, but was able to come out of it at least at the same level. During World War II, the company employed between 180 and 200 employees, and by 1942, they were one of the earliest in the region to employ women as welders, and by the end of the war, most Chapin employees were women. Ralphie Chapin died in 1943. He bestowed the operations to his son, Horace Heel Chapin, and then Horace's son, Ralph Baldwin Chapin, came on board the following year. He was an impressive asset as he had an undergraduate degree from MIT in business administration and mechanical engineering. And by 1947, he took over the operations of the company. The following year, the CO2 gas-operated pressure sprayer was included, and then they also grew further in the 1950s with their domestic and international sales, eventually shipping products all over the world. And this is when they began their partnership with Sears and Roebuck, which began purchasing their air sprayers from them. And this partnership actually still exists. 1960s was also a time of expansion. They had a wide variety of products to the line, but also acquired new property and manufacturing facilities. They were able to introduce new designs such as drinking fountain sprayers, eye wash sprayers, and Green Cross safety sprayers, as well as balloon and football inflators. They also expanded the facilities by incorporating the former building of the Climax Corp, and this added nearly 20,000 square feet of manufacturing warehousing. They also added the product line of the Feeney Company in 1973, which included hand dusters, crank dusters, and inflators. And then they were able to build another 48,000 square foot distribution warehouse where the previous Climax property was on Swan Street. In 1981, after much searching and investigation for another property, they bought the Sylvania plant at 700 Ellicott Street. By 1997, R.E. Chapin Manufacturing Works became Chapin Manufacturing Incorporated. R.B. Chapin was still active in the company and was actually the chairman of it. And by this time, the company actually had over 275 employees, which had grown rapidly. In August of 2000, Ralph B. Chapin passed away, leaving the hands to his daughter Andress. And in 2002, the Chapin Manufacturing Company became Chapin International Inc., which is still known to today. The company has expanded outside of Batavia now. In 2018, they expanded to Elleria, Ohio, and then also built plants in Kentucky as well as Michigan. And now they have joint ventures with countries over in Asia, including China and Indonesia, but they also send things to Australia and Europe as well. So they have grown significantly, not only with 6 U.S. locations, but shipping internationally as well. So Chapin has been around for a very long time and still running well and growing throughout the world. Well, we hope you enjoyed this edition of our Artifact video series and learned a little bit more about one of the major manufacturers here in Genesee County and probably the still longest running, Chapin International, or from the past, R.E. Chapin Manufacturing. In case you've really liked this video, be sure to check out the rest on our YouTube channel, Holland Land Office Museum, and give any other videos a like, or maybe even subscribe to the channel, as it helps us out a little bit, but also gets you notified sooner than everybody else when we do release new content. But as always, the best way to come and learn more about the topics in these videos is to stop by and see us in person, and we'll be happy to share even more stories and information than just what's shared in these short videos. So thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next week.